Hey folks, welcome to Behind the Dream, and I'm your host, Mike Scott. On this show, we have featured artist Bobby Osborne with guest host Glenn Duncan. They're sitting down telling stories about the past and the present. So let's listen in.
And I got to hauling those people. I loved that job.
Oh, yeah.
The best job I ever had in my life was driving a cab.
I'll be.
I just loved that.
Yeah.
You could work if you wanted to. You were your own boss.
Yeah.
And and you could go. I had a guy come. A lot of them want to go 50 to 60 miles out of the way. So they just, I'd take them. Come on back. So
Right.
I did that. And me and Sonny, we tried to get Wesley Rose to get us a guest shot on the Opry, He said, I don't see what you want to do that for. I said, well, you got the Everly Brothers on, they work through him,
Right.
I said, you got them on the Grand Ole Opry, we'd like to be there. Well, I don't see what you want to be on the Grand Ole Opry for. He said, they won't do nothing for you. I said, well, I've always dreamed about it. I want to be up on the Opry. And he never would. He never would do. He had a guy working with him, his name was Joe Lucas.
Yes.
I'm out there driving a cab one day, and I thought to myself, I'm going to call him. I called Joe Lucas. I got out of that cab and went to call the guy. He said, you want to be a guest on the Opry? I said, yeah. I said, we'd love to. He said, well, okay. He said, I'll call you back in a little bit. So he said, you call me back. We never had no phone back in the car then. So I called him back, in about 2 hours. And he said, can you be here this Saturday night? I said, yeah. He said, well, you're on, y'all going to do the Martha White show.
Oh, my gosh.
8 and 10:30. He got you on two. He said, that's the top-notch spot on the Opry. He said, well, boy, I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And so I took a break to do that with that cab,
Yeah.
I got back in that cab and I couldn't hardly drive. I couldn't do a thing. I called him back and I said, Joe, are you sure that's right? He said, what I told you is correct. He said, if you want on the Grand Ole Opry, be there. And I didn't know nothing about getting into Ryman.
Yeah.
How to do that.
Right.
Didn't know nothing
Come
about
up the
that.
back alley and all that.
Scared to death, and man, and wanted. That's one thing right there. When you get a chance to do that, you got to.
Oh, absolutely.
Because if you don't, you'll never get that chance again. And I knew good and well I had to do that. It's something you had to do. So I made up my mind that I was going to do that. So Sunday didn't know a thing more about this.
Yeah.
Later on that day, I guess I ought to call Sonny and tell him. I got out of that car, I called Sonny. I said, Sonny, we're going to be on the Grand Ole Opry Saturday night. He said, what? I guess, what? I said, I called Joe Lucas. He said, what'd you call him for? I said, I got sick and tired of Weston told us we couldn't be on the Opry. And he said, he got us. I said, we're going to be on the Grand Ole Opry at 8 and 10:30 Saturday night. He said, Bobby, if this is a joke, he said, I don't appreciate jokes like that. So I told him, I said, it ain't no joke. I said, that's what Joe Lucas told me. And well, he got excited then.
Oh, yeah.
Boy, well, he had been there with Monroe, see.
Yeah.
He knew how to get in back door
Right,
and
that's right,
everything.
yeah.
So we got, let's see, who went with us? That guy Jimmy Brown, he was
Yeah.
singing with us. We got him to go with us. Of course, he was just like
Oh,
this.
don't
He
you know.
couldn't do nothing either, So, man, we went down there and we got in and I couldn't wonder. I didn't know what we was going to have to sing.
Yeah.
But the guys, they'd already heard of us at the Opry,
Sure.
when
Oh,
we
yeah.
went down there. We had some records out, Ruby and all
Right.
that. We got down there and Grant Turner, I believe, was the announcer then.
Good as it gets.
He said, well, you sure going to do Ruby? And I thought, oh, God, no, let's not do that first. I don't want to be the one to have to get out there first, I thought it would be a banjo tune or something,
Yeah.
Son had been there, he knew,
Right.
But no, he said, oh, no, we got to have Ruby. That's what you got to. I had to get out there to sing Ruby the first time ever I walked on that stage.
Wow.
Though, it's something like I told you that you got to do that.
Yeah.
You got a chance to do something, and you have to do that.
Yeah.
And I knew that, And I never really got nervous until I got off that stage.
Yeah.
And of course, Tootsie's was right across the alley.
Absolutely.
You could go over there. I thought to myself, and we was on again at 10:30.
Yeah.
I thought, boy, I'm just a pure bundle of nerves. I got through Ruby all right and everything. And when we got off that stage, I said, I've got to settle down somewhere for 10:30. I can't go out there like this again. I really got scared after I got off the stage. I didn't believe what I'd done.
Yeah.
I just could not believe that. And I went straight over to us and I drank me 2 straight down, just like that. But I was good and ready that second show we went out there. But and once I was glad to get away from there and to know in my heart that I had got a chance to sing on the Grand Ole Opry.
Gosh, yeah.
And after that, though, things started falling in place, you know, and everything. But that was some early days that I'll always look back on them. I'll never forget them. I don't know how many more years I've got, but I'll never forget that until the last day I live.
No.
Stay tuned, folks, for more of Behind the Dream. The featured artist, Bobby Osborne. Welcome back, folks, to Behind the Dream. And I'm your host, Mike Scott. Let's go back and catch some more with Bobby Osborne.
You're listening to 650 WSM and listening for Ernest Tubb to come on the radio, and somebody else came on the radio.
Yeah, they did. It was the Royal Crown Cola. They were sponsored Royal Crown Cola Pop then. Pee Wee King was the headliner on that show. Ernest Tubb was only a guest then, just like we are today. And I was listening to him. I never knew what show he was going to be on, but I just listened to the whole thing. Somewhere along he would be on there. Back them days, you didn't miss the Grand Ole Opry, regardless of where you was at out on the road. And that was before the Friday night Opry came along. You did not miss the Grand Ole Opry. Wherever you was at, you had to get back to that Grand Ole Opry. It was a must, because in those days that's why we won there. The Grand Ole Opry was the only place.
Oh yeah.
And I learned that if you was a nobody, you could be a complete nobody never heard of you or nothing. You could put from the Grand Ole Opry and you became somebody right there. That was how important that Grand Ole Opry was. And but that was, and just getting back down to what you was. I was listening. I was trying to hear Ernest Tubb that night. The radio was a little bit staticky. I couldn't get it all the time real good. You know, wintertime I could, but all of a sudden they introduced Bill Monroe in the Bluegrass Boys. Well, that didn't mean any more to me than a stop sign. I didn't know Bill Monroe, and nobody ever said a word. Not one word was spoke. Glad to be here. Here's so and so, whatever. And all of a sudden, I heard this. I heard an instrument come through that radio that I never heard anything sound like that in my life. And I couldn't figure out what. I didn't know. I thought I was on the wrong station.
Yeah.
I really did. I knew I just.
Yeah.
And I never heard anything like that. And when he got done, the crowd just nothing but applause went up, you know. I thought, what in the world was that? And that was all it was. Solemn old judge come by and he said that was Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys. I thought, gosh, what if that's Bill Monroe playing the banjo? Who is Bill Monroe, you know? So then I got to listen. I listened to Ernest Tubb. Never give him up, never, ever. Yeah. And but I was wanting to hear that again. I thought to myself, I wonder if that's going to ever happen again. And boy, I heard it again and again and again, and I learned he was with Bill Monroe. And so my dad, he remembered Bill and Charlie sing together. He said, and of course at that time there, the the puzzle was there.
Yeah, boy.
It was together
All
then.
the pieces, yeah.
So my dad told me, he said, well, now that, he said, Bill plays the fiddle, and he says, his brother Charlie played the guitar. I said, well, Charlie's not with him, who's playing? And I said, Lester Flatt's playing the guitar now. And he said, yeah, but he said, Bill's playing the fiddle. I said, they say it's Chubby Wise. He said, well, I might have that mixed up. He said, he said, I thought he always played the fiddle. Well, Monroe had a late show on, I learned that after the Opry went off, come around on at midnight, in place of the record shop now. That was before the record shop. And he had a songbook program on, selling his songbooks. And he mentioned one night, he said, we're going to be at Memorial Hall in Dayton, Ohio right tomorrow. Now you folks come out and be with us. Boy, I told my dad, I says, you got to take me there. I couldn't even drive a car or nothing. And, you know, he said, you got to take me down. I said, got to go. We sat about 10 rows back. I could not believe that one guy could, it sounds like so many notes coming together. I couldn't believe one guy could do that. I just could not believe that. When we got, well, earlier than that, I found out that was Earl Scruggs is his name, you know. And we got to see, and they come out on the stage, and the first thing they opened up was Orange Blossom Special. And the way they were dressed and all that right there, I can tell you right now.
You can still remember what color suits they had on.
Everything about them that night. And when it come time for that, I didn't even know what a banjo looked like. I mean, I just never had seen one. And Bill Monroe said, Earl Scruggs is going to play Cumberland Gap here for you. And he showed me in about a minute and a half exactly how that could be done. Boy, from then on, I learned then that Bill Monroe played the mandolin and Chubby and all of them played fiddle and all like that. But from then on, I loved Ernest Tubb and still do, and sang his songs, recorded them and everything. But bluegrass eat me alive.
But I got one of my favorite stories about the electric versus not electric era is you had come up with a really great way of when you would go out and work the Grand Ole Opry stage, and you would they would have a little mic.
Oh yeah, there's a good story about that.
You got to tell this.
Well, I wanted to play it. I wanted to peel the paint right off that Ryman Auditorium. What I wanted to do, but I couldn't figure out a way to do it. Well, I got me a pickup at Barkisbury that I used out on the road. I got with the guy upstairs, and I told him what I wanted to do. Well, he had Hank Snow, a little mic right there, right where his guitar was. And he said, well, Snow's got that little mic there. He said, I could put you something right there. I said, I want this pickup hook. He said, well, all I got to do is put you a female jack there, and you just plug it in. And I had one of them little stretchy cords. He would stretch out that long, but if you let it long, he'd just go together. And I had one of them on, so I just stick it in my pocket when I played the opera, and nobody never knew I had a pickup on it. One night, we were down there, and we were on Monroe's show. He introduced us, you know. And I told the old boy up in the top up there, when I started using it, I said, I had a volume control on. He said, you turn your volume control up as loud as it go, and he said, I'll take care of the rest of it. So I got to doing that, and that night Monroe was on his show, you know. And I knew we did Fireball Mail.
And you plugged
when
in.
Nobody was watching, I just got that thing out of my pocket and plugged into that jack, and I never touched that man until it come my turn to do break on that. And I hit that man, it bounced right off of the wall of that Ryman Auditorium. I never heard it, that's as loud as I ever heard it, you know. Boy, I'm telling you what's true. And I looked back there, and Monroe he didn't know what was going on. And so, as I come off the stage, he said, Bobby, don't go, I want to talk to you. And so I knew exactly what he was going to say. I just knew he was going to wear me out for having to pick up
the scolding.
But you know, he come back there in the first, and of course I done put that cord in my pocket then, you know. and I had the pickup here between the bridge. You couldn't see it. Bobby, what kind of mandolin you got? I said, it's just like yours. No, sir, it ain't like mine. Mine don't sound like that. He said, I heard that thing all over it's all over the walls out there. He said, I know. What kind of mandolin is it? I showed it. I said, Bill, this is right here. It says, is that the one you played? I said, yes. He said, It don't sound like mine.
Yeah.
But he never, I
No.
thought that was funny. He never knew. I
No.
never told him
No,
what it,
he loved it when he didn't know it was electric. That's the best part, ain't it? Yeah.
that lower lip would have dropped clear to the
Oh
floor.
yeah, he loved it then though. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect, isn't it? That's kind of the whole thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay tuned with more of Behind the Dream with Bobby Osborne.
Memories of the one that I let go.
Welcome back, folks, to Behind the Dream. I'm your host, Mike Scott. Let's go back with some more memories and stories with our featured artist, Bobby Osborne.
A couple things would be good for us to mention about your 60th anniversary CD is one thing is a song, because the title of it, the CD, is Memories.
Yeah.
And that's because you wrote a song and recorded it for Decca years ago called Memories.
Yeah, sure did.
And we thought it'd be deserving of a really special event recording.
Well, we were gonna title it something else. If I can't remember what it was.
Yeah.
No, we were gonna call it 60th anniversary.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And when you mentioned I'll get Patty to sing on it with you. You said there's the title right there, Memories, and
Absolutely.
it's gonna fit the 60th anniversary
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
So that's how we came up with
Yeah.
that title
So we
there.
got.
But I wrote that song a long time ago, and we recorded. My brother and me recorded for Decca Records, and back when Harry Silverstein was
Yeah.
the A&R guy.
Right. And so for the new CD, we got Patty Loveless to sing with you on it.
Yeah, right.
And she's a member of the Kentucky Music Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
As are you.
Yeah, she's just
Yeah.
been. She is her and let's see, some more. It's just been voted in
Yeah.
just, not long ago.
So we thought that would be an extra special moment. And also, we also got her husband, who's a great friend to both of us, Emery Gordy Jr., who's in the Georgia Music Hall of Fame,
Yeah.
to play bass on it, which
Uh-huh.
I thought was an extra special thing because Emery had produced the Bill Monroe session that you and I did together, where we recorded our Hear a Sweet Voice Calling with Bill
Right.
on
Yeah.
Decca as well in
Yeah.
1985.
A lot of good things on this about this CD, other than just like the title and the 60th anniversary. We came up with a tune that you wrote,
Yeah.
the fiddle tune, and we had to put the mandolins on it, and the man from Rosine.
Yeah.
And, but that had some mighty good players on that.
We did. We had
Okay.
David Grissman played on that, and Ronnie McCurry, and David Harvey,
Right. Yeah.
and Sammy Sheeler.
Sammy Sheeler
Yeah,
played.
played the banjo on
Yeah.
that. And Russell Moore also sang a duet with you on this one, and so did Audie Blaylock.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of good
Oh, he
guests.
helped me sing the one I wrote.
Yes, sir.
Pain in My Heart.
Pain
yeah.
in My Heart.
Yeah.
So when you started your career, you were wanting to sing like Ernest Tubb.
Yeah. And he could talk to the crowd. They loved his singing. And I just loved the appearance he had, the way he dressed and everything about him.
Yeah.
And as I listened to him sing, I thought to myself, that's exactly what I want to do right there. And I would, but gosh, 11, I might have been 10 or 11 years old. But I was trying to sing like him right then.
Yeah.
I was trying to learn how to sing.
And play guitar. You
Yeah,
were playing guitar?
yeah, I didn't know anything more about this thing. I was
Yeah.
playing guitar then.
Yeah.
Started out playing guitar. And another thing I'll say, my dad showed me 3 chords on the guitar, G, C, and D. And that day to this, nobody has ever showed me a thing in the world. I learned it on my own.
Yeah.
But the more I liked it, and I listened to Ernest Tubb, the more I wanted to be just exactly like him, you know. And ever since I got to hear him, buy a record, songbook, he just became my idol, just like he was by Jimmy Rogers. you
Yeah,
know.
that's right.
And there's a couple of things that and by working in Wheeling, West Virginia, I got to meet the guy. I got to meet Ernest, you know. And I asked him one time, I said, of course, we'd already been a guest at the Opry, you know, then. And I asked him, I said, how how much problem would it be to be on the Grand Ole Opry? And he said, son, he said, I don't know where you'd want to be down there or not. And I said, why? And he said, that's an awful big pond. And he said, you'll be a small duck swimming around in a big pond. That's the words he told me.
Interesting way to put it.
I said, well, you came there. He said, I'm just like you. I'm just like you. I wanted to be on the Grand Ole Opry. And he said, I took a chance as a little duck swimming in a pond with a big bunch of ducks.
Yeah.
He said, you got to be careful. They'll swallow you whole.
How about that?
And he said, you boys are Grand Ole Opry. Ernest Tubb told me that one time. He said, you're Grand Ole Opry. He said, they could use you down there.
Yeah.
And so I got to know him like that. And Ernest Tubb was one of the nicest guys I ever met in my life.
He was just like you wanted him to be, wasn't he?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. He was nothing else except he was just an idol. I just idolized the guy. And I asked him one time, I said, you thought so much of Jimmy Rogers, and I said, did you ever meet him? He said, no, son, I never did. He always called me son.
Yeah.
He said, no, I never met the man. I said, I don't understand that. I said, and I've got 8 sides at the house that he did on RCA.
Right.
What the RCA records, I believe, that he sung exactly like Jimmy Rogers, had the yodel and everything.
Like the guitar.
And I said, you sang so much like him. I said, and you loved him. And I said, I don't understand why you never did meet him. He said, I'll tell you exactly. He said, I thought so much of Jimmy Rogers. He said, I didn't want to meet him. I was afraid he would do something that make me not like him.
I'll be.
And he says, I never.
Interesting.
He said, I never met the man. I said, what? I said, I said, you're my favorite. And I said, I wasn't going to have it no other way. But I said, I wanted to meet you.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
But Ernest Tubb was absolutely a super person.
We want to thank you folks for joining us on Behind the Dream. I'm your host, Mike Scott. We'll see you real soon.